Welcome to ACR Moonshot, the Advanced Cardiac Resuscitation Podcast, where we embrace a bold change in the way that we plan for and respond to sudden cardiac arrest in the pursuit of saving more lives. And now your hosts, Joe Powell and Billy Croft. All right, Joe, we are back at it again, buddy. What's up?
Hey, Billy, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Just listening to some music, I'm into music today
All right.
for some reason,
Yeah.
I
would
love
think you're into
music.
music. Yeah.
Yeah, let's turn that
Yeah.
down. So
Since,
too loud.
since you're a rock star. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
right. So
Are you?
what's going on in California, buddy?
Well, the entire world around me is on fire. So, but it's beautiful here in Oak Hills, California. So,
Through the smoke?
through the smoke. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't barely see my back fence through the smoke. But besides being on fire, it's a great day. Are we playing Where's Waldo? Or are you at home?
Yeah, I'm in Illinois, just outside Chicago. So beautiful weather here. It's it's not, hotter than heck out here. Usually it's that way, but it's actually beautiful today. Just got off a shift and we ran our tails off yesterday, which is
I
great.
bet.
But yeah, man.
This is unusual for us, right? We're not usually both at home. That doesn't usually happen. We're usually both out traveling the world and spreading the message.
Yeah, it's kind of nice when we're together and we get to do this. So
yeah.
But today, we have a special guest with us today.
We do.
You want to introduce him there, Joe?
This is Jason Patton, and Jason, I know from his antics, right? His crazy antics on some TV commercials. I first started kind of coming into like, who is this guy? What's he doing? Because I'm into drag racing and the NHRA, and I work on a couple of nitro cars, and I started seeing this guy in fire department coffee and my history of the fire department. And so I'm like, who is this crazy guy? And then looking into some of his videos and stuff. It's just a pleasure, Jason, to have you on board. There's probably a whole lineage of history there that I've missed in the process, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Listen, where people come across me or my videos or the coffee company or whatever it is, it's always unique, and I love it. I think it's really, really cool, especially that you've discovered all of this through the NHRA, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
It's pretty awesome. And I've known Jason's videos through TikTok and social media, all that stuff. You kind of became famous there, and I think I remember your first video. It's this Fire Department Chronicles has evolved over the years, but I remember that first one about it was like a National Geographic thing, searching for the paramedic and for their call of bitching, and I laughed my ass off.
That's about right. That's as a medic myself. Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah,
it's very, very true. Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself for our listeners, and where you're from, and how long you've been on the fire department, and all your other extra things that you do.
The list of no sleeping.
Yeah.
So I've been on with Riviera Beach for 16 years now. I've been a firefighter a medic for 18 years. I worked for AMR when I first got into this lovely business, which was fun. Kind of gave me some good experience running Code 3, learning how to talk to patients, that kind of thing. And mechanic before that. My father was a mechanic, and thought that I might be able to do the same thing as him, and the answer was no. I could not do the same thing that my dad could do crown molding, and he loved it. There was just something about throwing up crown molding and the angles and the cuts, and every time it was perfect. And I was like, no, one cut that I did wrong, I'd be like, screw this sucks, I'm out. But after I've been on for about 4 years or so, I started Fire Department Chronicles for maybe 5 years, and actually, no, 7 years. Wow, God. I've been on about 7 years, and I started Fire Department Chronicles, and then got involved with Fire Department Coffee, and now just 1,000 different things going on each day, and I have a little 8-year-old daughter that reminds me every day that editing videos isn't my only thing I need to be doing. And I'm like, okay, all right, I got it. Well,
Yeah.
actually, yesterday I was talking to my friend about going live. I was like, hey, we're gonna go live for this Walmart thing, and she comes up, she goes, Dad, if you're looking to get more followers, lives doesn't do that for you. And I was like, thank you, daughter. Thank you. You've watched 2 YouTube videos. You're an expert, so it's good.
At 8 years old, that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
that's
amazing.
crazy.
So, why did you start these videos? I mean, I find much joy as being a firefighter because, you know, it's hard to explain to ordinary people who don't do our job,
Hmm.
like what we come up against, because people are like, you're lying. That didn't happen. I'm like, well, yeah, it did. It happened.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, what was the whole backstory? Why did you do it?
I think so before TikTok and the ability to really just film yourself and throw it onto the internet. I think it was one of those things where, like everybody else that's now come up as creators or kind of making funny videos around what we do every single day. I thought it was funny. Like we were just messing around, man. Like the first video where we were hunting for the division chief, and the bigger their belly they were, the more gnarly they are. And, you know, if their mustache flares, you better run. Like so it was just us messing around. I threw it up on the internet, and people related to it. And then I started making more videos and more videos. And like you said, the paramedic, that was the one that I was like, oh, wow, people actually enjoy this. Then quickly followed a bunch of haters and people talking crap about me, which is very normal. And they kind of faded off into the distance eventually. And now
Yeah.
it's just kind of taken on a life of its own, and it's been very cool. I've had a strategic approach to this from the beginning, and it's cool that I've been able to stick to that, and it's thankfully flourished into something that I truly enjoy.
Yeah. So, is this correct? About 4.5 million followers?
Yeah, on TikTok, I believe it's
Yeah.
4.5. It's somewhere around like 13 million across all the channels. So
So you're reaching a lot of people, and
yeah.
that that's
Yeah.
great. I think it's great. I think
Thank you.
the more people that know what we do and, you know, what we come up against, and you know, just the fact that you put a humorous spin on it. Um, you know, most of these calls that we go on are very tragic, right?
Hmm.
And it's sad.
Hmm.
And humor, I've always used humor, you know, kind of get through that, you know,
Yeah.
because if you think about it too much, man, it'll drive you crazy.
Oh
That's
yeah.
for sure.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah. And I think humor.
Have you guys ever?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, Jason, you know, as we, you know, talk about, you know, the calls that are sad and they are,
Mhm.
they're devastating at times. But have you guys had that, you can't control your laughter after a call? Somebody says something funny. It's an extremely tragic
Oh
call.
yeah. No, I
Somebody
mean,
says something funny, 3 a.m. in the back of the box or something. The patient's already been dropped off and you can't stop laughing for
yeah.
10 minutes straight. Have you had that situation?
Oh yeah, multiple times.
Yeah.
Multiple
Yeah.
times. One of my favorites. And it was like I was so mad at this dude in the moment. And then after, like, we laughed so hard about this. Even the patient was laughing. That's what was like funny to me at the moment. What we were picking up this lady, and she she was sleeping on a mattress that had no sheet on it. It was a plastic sheet, and she needed us to help her stand up. So we're helping her stand up, and she understood like it was just one of those like situations where we're helping her stand up. Well, because of the like the sweat and everything that was between her, and she had unfortunately pooped on herself. And as we're standing her up, my partner, there's 5 of us standing this lady up. My partner is openly gagging because he can't help it. And he's literally over here going, "Ugh, ugh," and I'm like, shut up, bring it out of your freaking mouth, man. He's like, "Ugh." And the lady is laughing too. She's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And like if I want to punch him in the face. I was so mad, but thankfully the patient was cool about it. Everyone was fun.
Yeah.
We were all laughing, but yeah, we laughed hysterically after.
Yeah,
So.
you gotta laugh or you're gonna cry. And
Yeah.
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 I prefer laughing for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think it's a great thing that you do. And then you got involved with fire department coffee, and what a great company that is.
Mhm.
Our fire department just signed up for fire department coffee, so
Awesome.
all
Thanks,
of our
man.
stations are getting it. And what a great cause. Can you go into that a little bit about what
Yeah.
you do?
No, first off, I appreciate you guys doing that, man. The support is incredible. People, when we first launched into Walmart, we asked people to just go buy one bag of coffee. It was like, and people did it, man. They went to the stores and they bought it. It's like, and
Yeah.
it was just so cool to see, brothers and sisters supporting brothers and sisters, or just supporting. I just found it very endearing as, friends, that kind of thing. So, um, yeah, well, the genesis of Fire Department Coffee was actually, the Fire Department Coffee was not the original name of our company, but we were making a bunch of different blends, and we created one called the Fire Department Coffee Blend, and 100% of those proceeds were going back to a burn foundation. And when we launched that one, people loved it. They loved the blend. They loved the styles of the coffee, the notes that were coming from it, and they loved the mission behind it.
Yeah.
So that was right around when I met Luke Schneider, the CEO of Fire Department Coffee, and we said, and we were talking, and we named it officially. Fire. He had already named Fire Department Coffee, but we started making more and more and more blends, but really saying that, like, hey, I think the thing that drew people to this was the give back. So we started the Fire Department Coffee Charitable Foundation. Now a portion of our proceeds go back to the to support sick and injured firefighters. So it's something that we really believe in, man. I've watched a lot of guys and girls get hurt or need to go to mental health resources, and they just don't have the money, because firefighters we're really really good with our money.
Yes.
But we're it's so incredible with it. But I mean, look, things happen. When I started as a firefighter, I was making $1,000 every other week.
Yeah.
So I was making nothing, and if I, God forbid, I needed to go get treatment, and my deductible was $3,000, I don't know where I'm getting that money from. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
we found it important to be able to support that.
Yeah. It's a fantastic
Thank you.
thing to do. We need more people like you, brother. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
As you know, you know, we act like these bunch of tough guys, and especially when it comes to mental illness.
Hmm.
In our profession, that's kind of a taboo word to talk about. And but I don't know how we can get past that. It's
Just normalization,
Yeah,
normalizing the conversation, is that's it. Understanding. Look, it's really I deal with mental health, like my own mental health, but like help a lot of people who are maybe having a mental health crisis or whatever it is, and it's still mildly uncomfortable for me to watch someone I know personally cry. Like it's uncomfortable for me to cry, man. Like it's like I gotta push it out sometimes.
yeah,
But
right.
like it's especially if it's like a real deep cry, it's uncomfortable, dude, but it's something you push through. And the more, it's kind of like the cancer conversation. Like, hey, I mean, not cleaning your bunker gear was cool when I started, and
Oh
now when
yeah.
you see somebody who has not cleaned their bunker gear, you're like, what is wrong with you? Like,
Yes.
because the conversation was spoken about enough and shifted. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, we're
Thank you too.
we're talking about evolving as as a profession. Things were a lot different 30 years ago,
mhm.
and things are evolving and getting better. I always say this when I go out and speak. There's two types of people that don't like change, and that's people who go to church and firefighters, for sure.
Uh, that's about
you
right.
know, um,
Yeah.
but for things to get better, we have to change. We have to evolve, and we wanted to have you on and talk about kind of that aspect of us getting better as a profession, specifically in cardiac arrest. And
Yeah.
we're advanced cardiac resuscitation. We're non for profit. We're just simply trying to improve out of hospital cardiac arrest survivability. And nationally, I think, Joe, what's is that 8% national.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So CARES data would tell you that national neurologically intact survival is about 8%. That number is probably relatively generous, right? Because it's only about a third of the country actually report to CARES. And so when you go back and look, people that report to CARES that are looking at their data do better than, in cardiac arrest survival because they're looking at what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Than people that don't report to CARES. And so about 2/3 of the country doesn't even report to CARES. If you look at that number nationally, some of the experts will tell you that they believe somewhere around 5% neurologically intact survival.
Oh, wow.
Or yeah, if you put it the other way, and this kind of hurts when we're doing a lecture, but the other way to put that is that's about a 95% failure rate. Right.
Yeah.
Right. 95% failure. Right. Yeah.
I say so. I teach CPR to like lay rescuers, and I mean, and I stress to them heavily, like you're the ones that save lives.
Yeah.
Period. Like,
Exactly.
hey, we're not saving anyone's life when we get there and they're brain dead. So like, you guys
Yeah.
are the ones that truly like help. So I think on for firefighters and paramedics and anyone in the medical fields, data-based stuff is really what we need. We need to understand. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue just stopped pushing epinephrine. I know there's a huge push to stop using sodium bicarb very early in cardiac arrest, which I totally agree with. And I mean, the medical field is insane. Like, there's no other way to describe it. Like, we're like, do this right now as much as possible. 1 year later, oh shit, don't do that anymore. That's not good. So, like, and I get it, man. It's medicine. We need a ton of data to be able to prove things and move the needle. I always laugh. I say, when I went through when I went through medic school, it was like lidocaine, procainamide, amiodarone. They were like, amiodarone, 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 do it, do it, do it. And I was like, oh, cool, great. It works. It's into all classes. Like, it's amazing. And I was like, all right, awesome. And then 7 years ago, someone was like, hey, listen, like amiodarone toxicity is a real thing. So like, how much are we giving these people? Like, what's going on? I was like, Jesus, bro, what is happening? So it's just very interesting to watch the way things shift. But I think the number one priority should be, and if we want true increases in survivability with cardiac arrest patients, is lay rescue or CPR, AEDs, every single place you can possibly get them, and just like really encourage people to do CPR prior to us getting there.
Yeah, for sure. We talk about optimizing the patient when we go out and lecture, all over the country, but there's other parts of that, like optimizing the community. Like you just said, we have to make them our ally, because I don't care what kind of bundle of care that you have, or what kind of drugs or whatever. If there's no one doing CPR prior to our arrival, we're not doing anything
Yeah.
at all,
Yeah.
and then on the reverse side of that is optimizing the system, like you said, AEDs and cop cars, and they usually beat us to the call anyways. And you got to put a donut on their chest, say do CPR, and you'll get the donut. But sorry, coppers, whatever. But you just gotta we gotta evolve,
Yeah.
and we have to do what is right at the end of the day, in order to save these people. Because Joe said 95% failure rate. Where is that acceptable in our profession?
Yeah.
If we burnt down the block 95% of the time when we had a single room content fire, we'd be fixing it, right?
Yeah.
We'd be fixing that. So
Oh yeah.
why shouldn't it be any different for cardiac arrest? So
No, I
Yeah,
agree. I agree
but
wholeheartedly.
yeah, it's acceptable in cardiac arrest, right? We just accept it, right? Nobody survives this. We know nobody survives it, so it's just acceptable, right? And
Yeah.
Jason, we teach in class. We teach a lot about what we call the 4 pressures, but one of the 4 pressures is cerebral perfusion pressure. Blood flow to the brain, forward flow, right? And so we spend hours talking about how to optimize cerebral perfusion pressure, decrease ICP, decrease interthoracic pressure, improve coronary perfusion pressure, blah blah blah, right? But we ask ourselves at some point, how do we optimize cerebral perfusion pressure when we're not even there?
Yeah.
Right? When we're sitting at the station, we haven't even got the alarm yet, or we're running to the units, or we're rolling down the street. How do we optimize cerebral perfusion pressure when we're not there? Well, obviously that's impossible. No, it's not. Right? Lay rescue or CPR is how we optimize cerebral perfusion pressure when we're not there.
Yeah.
Right? So we need a lot more people doing lay rescue or CPR so that we can optimize cerebral perfusion pressure, bridge that time gap till we can get there.
Yeah, so I own my CPR company. It's called Patented Comedy CPR. It's comedy CPR. I do like full stand-up comedy in front of the class. We laugh the entire time. Like it's fun. And I just found that the number one reason that people were not going to do CPR was they were afraid of hurting the person.
Yeah.
And, and I'm like, hey, if they're not breathing and their heart's not working, you can't make their day any worse than it already is. Like, crush their chest. Who gives a shit? Like, have
Yeah.
a good time. And if you push on their chest and they say, ow, stop. Like, they're
Yeah.
alive. Good
Yeah. There you
job.
go.
You saved their life as far as I'm concerned. So, and I think that was the biggest thing is I was asking these people, they're like, I don't want to hurt them. What if they don't need CPR? Dude, I can tell you for a fact if I've gone on 50 overdoses, at least 20 of them, people were ripping on their chests as hard as they could, and they did not need CPR. But guess what? It's all fine. We gave them Narcan. They came back. They were good. They said, my chest hurts a little bit, but versus the opposite, right? Versus what
Right.
the opposite was. And that's, again, I love that you talk about that and just trying to make the best scenario absolutely possible. But the fact is, if we don't have buy-in from the public, if the public's not willing to help, like it will not happen. I don't care what drugs we take out. If their brain is dead, we're not doing anything for them. So
Yeah. So you said that you guys don't give epinephrine anymore, and that's a big part of we de-emphasize, epinephrine. We usually get to the call, we're doing shitty CPR, right? We're getting
mhm,
chest compression fraction of 50-60%,
mhm.
doing other things, and then we just load them full of epinephrine, which is a systemic vasoconstrictor, and that's reducing
Yeah.
cerebral perfusion to the brain. So we're just frying them.
Mhm.
We had a podcast. I don't know if you know Dr. Peter Entebbe. Is
Yeah.
he?
So, and Tevi's the one that is the medical director for them. He's the reason that's happening. My department, we still give epi for right now, but
Right.
we see a lot of shift with Palm Beach County is a massive department, so they're going to start shifting. So yeah, and Tevi's the one that did that.
Yeah, Antevi's been on the podcast. Great friend of us. Just a great guy, and I just love the fact that these medical directors are moving, somewhat away from ACLS.
Mhm.
That ground floor. I think we can go above that and do a better job. Um,
Yeah.
and just do what's right at the end of the day.
Mhm.
There's a lot of medical directors that are not even given epinephrine for their VFib arrests. They're just
Mhm.
not doing it anymore because they know
Agreed. Yeah.
the consequences of that. So
Yeah, I don't listen. At the end of the day, I don't. I know that they're also doing. I think I keep hearing back and forth the dual sequential
yeah,
defibrillation. I don't know if they're still doing that or not. I heard at one point in time I heard it was the greatest thing on the face planet. Then I heard it was frying people's livers, and now I'm hearing they're doing it again. So I don't know. I don't know what's actually happening. But yeah, listen, I'm all for the progression of medicine as long as there's some data behind it. It's not anecdotal stuff. So
right.
I think I'm all down for that, man. I mean, look, ketamine. I don't even know where we stand on ketamine anymore, just because I made fun of God, I can't think of his name right now. He's the ketamine king in Florida, and I can't think of his freaking name, but he loves ketamine. Like everything
Yeah.
gets ketamine. I spoke at EMS World and said that he was going to open up a restaurant just called K, and it was like everything had ketamine in it. Kale had 2 Ks in it. Yeah, listen, man, I think it's so important, and it's so funny the two different communities that you see. Medicine is a constantly progressing thing. Like what we said 6 months ago, it does not stand now. Let's try something different. And firefighting is not. Like it is just the two opposite worlds, man. So it's really cool to see, both of them kind of meld together.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
we got to progress. In talking about dual sequential defibrillation, we believe that there might be some benefit there. I think Dr. Cheskets just recently came out with a study that showed some benefit. But I think we have done, and Jason, over your career, I'm sure there's been multiple different drugs, multiple different approaches. Give them more energy. Go to 360, go to dual sequential.
Arapakill.
Amiodarone's gonna, yeah, everything's gonna
Yeah.
everything's going to fix VFib. And I think what will fix VFib is high compression fractions.
Yeah.
Staying on the chest, stopping CPR. That will save, right? the reason we've thrown everything at VFib and said, man, we got to do all these drugs, all this different energies, like all these different things we got to do to fix VFib is because we've been doing shitty CPR for the last 40
Yeah.
freaking years,
Yep.
right? We got to fix the foundation. We got to do really high quality CPR, reverse acidosis, reverse hypoxia, get the heart ready for electrical energy, and then shock them. And I think we're going to see that much better conversion rate. But
Yeah, we do
Well,
4 minutes of CPR before we're allowed to do anything else.
oh, that's
nice,
good.
So
nice.
yeah, we do 4
Good.
minutes of high quality CPR before we can do any other interventions. We don't no advanced airways until we've established, you know, decent IVs or anything. We're rolling up, we're throwing an NPA in them, we're doing really high quality CPR while we're getting everything else ready, and then we go from there.
Well, I think
Nice, nice.
just because of that, I think you're seeing, you know, departments realizing, hey, you know, the intubation is probably not going to save their life. This is
Yeah.
what's going to save their life. Like we do eye gels
Yeah, we do
all day
that.
long.
IGL, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yep.
all day long. Because we looked at our data and we saw, okay, from the time we got on the scene and the time we got a definitive airway with an intubation was 12 minutes. Unacceptable.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, it's like 2 minutes, you know, and
Yeah.
are you guys using capnography also
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
your cardiac arrest?
hmm
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
those are the big things that it's 4 minutes of high quality CPR, get capnography as fast as possible, nasal cannula, if anything, to get some oxygen thrown through flowing through the MPA, and then just as much high quality as CPR as we possibly can, and then we'll move on to. But before we even start talking about getting rid of sodium bicarb, decreasing the amount, unless it's like obvious the acidosis or anything like that, I was always like, man, I don't want to push that, bro, because that's the everyone's like epi, God. Go ahead and just put some sodium bicarb. They're probably acidotic at this point. I'm like, oh, dude, hold on, man. That's like huge shifts, dude. Like, just wait 1 minute. So I just think that unless they're calling for it, I don't know. But I agree. I think I've always thought epi. I was always interested in epi and how that was actually working, because even when we were getting something back, it never seemed to be any like cerebral function or anything after that.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think we know from the, from the studies, and there's a lot of them out there, right? That we will get hearts back with
Mhm.
epi, right? Epi will improve ROS grades. It will decrease neurologically intact survival rates, right? So that the
Mhm.
way I say it, right, usually is you can get hearts back. You have to burn the brain to do it with epi.
Yeah.
Right. So we got to figure out a better way to do it than give epi and burn the brain to get the heart back. Right.
Mhm.
And we always kind of have this discussion in class, but it's like, we're going to do everything possible to optimize cerebral perfusion pressure. And there's about 8 or 9 different things we can do to optimize cerebral perfusion pressure. Once you've done all those things, you can consider epi.
Mhm.
But you surely don't want to consider epi early when the patient's acidotic, hypoxic. We're doing crappy CPR. We're overventilating them. We're not using an impedance threshold device, or doing a mechanical CPR device on all of those things. And then we're like, we dump a milligram of epi in their brain, fry their brain, get their heart back, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to optimize that cerebral perfusion pressure before we dump that epi in there. If we're gonna give epi at all. Yeah.
It's just funny, like you talk about like increased thoracic pressure and all that stuff, and it's like the true enemy to cardiac arrest with like real neurological survivability is human psychology. That's it, bro. Is trying to get humans to want to actually push on someone's chest when they're not trained in this, and
Yep.
B, when they are doing it as a first responder, not being so focused on what's happening in front of them that they're breathing for them as fast as they're breathing. And like
Right.
it's this really like true, like hitting people in the face and like making it a real systematic approach. We've done this, now we must do this, and like making sure that everything works properly, because I think human psychology is the true enemy to true survivability.
Well, let's dive
You're right.
into that real quick. I can tell that you are a thinking medic. You think about things. Like how's this going to affect the patient when
Mhm.
I give this? What am I doing to the patient?
Mhm.
Do you think most medics think like that? And if they don't, how do we change that way of thinking? Because we always talk about, hey, there's a cookbook medic, right? That'll follow the protocol down and they'll do what is told. I'm not
Yeah.
going to deviate from this. But then there's paramedics out there that are like chefs, man. That they're going to dial it in and they're going to go. So how do we
Yeah.
change that culture of that fear of getting in trouble or I'm going to hurt the patient, so on.
I think just encouraging people to like dive into the differential diagnosis as much as possible. Like when you're really diagnosing what's happening with the patient, let's take the basics first and then subtract from there. I always tell people don't find out what's wrong with them, don't find out what's wrong with them, find out what's not wrong with them first. And then it's much easier to kind of go from there. I had a person one time, we went in and I was with a couple other medics, and they were saying that this lady was saying, I'm having some chest pains, whatever it is, put her on the monitor. Her heart rate's like a buck 60, and she's an AFib. And I was with the captain who's a medic. He's like, give her cardizem. Let's go. Get the cardizem. I was like, hold on, dude. Wait 1 second. We're in a bathroom. She said she's been in the bathroom all night. She's been vomiting and has massive diarrhea. She's probably dehydrated, dude. So we put 1,000 bag on, and then I think she had about 600 cc's of it, and she was down to like 90. I was like, dude, don't slam people with drugs, man. You gotta like just stop for a second. So I think it's just that like that calm approach. Look, if we have to get in there and move as fast as possible and slam drugs or give them electricity, whatever we need to do, let's do it. But prior to that, we need to be much better at thinking. And then with cardiac arrest, this is something I always encourage people. If you're the medic in charge, you don't need to touch anything. If you have like on a fire service, there's enough people. And if you don't have enough skilled medics that can intubate or give drugs or whatever it is, you don't need to do anything. You can just sit at the feet and just tell people what to do and be very systematic about it. Because a lot of times that brings a calm to the cardiac arrest. It also shows the family that you know what you're doing. And then on top of that, you can watch the changes happening and not have your face intubating a patient if you have that ability.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, we stress that also, once you are, skills driven or you're, elbows deep in skills, there's no way you can run the call. No way. And, everybody's going to do what they're going to do. And, before you know it, you're going to have, 6 boxes of epinephrine into a patient. And, it's a dunzy.
It's hard. I will say it's hard to get thinking medics because our system doesn't allow that. Our system says you graduated from medic school, your knowledge base is dog shit. So you just know what you learned. You don't know any of these skills yet. You don't know how to recognize half of these things. You immediately need to get, if you're hired at a department, you immediately need to get into your preceptorship, which is going to be 6 months. And you pray that the person that you're precepting with is intelligent enough to be able to step you through these processes. And then after 6 months, you want to get that money, man. And you're going to get out to that field, and hopefully you have a natural ability to do that. But it is teachable. It is teachable. You just have to get people to not say, oh, X definitely equals Y every time. No, there's probably a Q in there. Just make sure the Q is not there. If it's not there, all right, let's move on. And I'm not the greatest medic in the world, but I mean, I'm good enough to where I've had my days, but hopefully, I don't kill too many people.
Joe, I think you say it best all the time. This is a systems problem, right?
Yeah, we always kind of look at at questioning what we're doing, right? And if 95% of what if we have a 95% failure rate, then you damn well better question what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and to some extent, we have to question what we've been taught. We have to question what the protocols say. We have to question this process because what we're doing isn't working. It's got a 95% failure rate. It isn't working. So we have to question what we're doing, right? And that's really it's a systems problem because we incentivize people to do what they're told, do what they're taught. Right. So, you go to school, then that's how you get through paramedic school. That's how you get through EMT school. That's how you get through your rookie year in the fire service. That's how you get promoted to chief, battalion chief, captain, lieutenant, whatever you're promoted to is doing what you're told and doing what you're taught. But if doing what you're told and doing what you're taught is getting you a 95% failure rate, you damn well better question it. Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would even say
do a better job of this.
At an EMS level, it's even harder. So when I say I mean EMS only, because in the fire service, if we're running, medical at my department, if I have a cardiac arrest, I have at least 4 other medics on that scene that I can go, what do you think? But, when I worked for AMR, I had an EMT in my box. That was it, bro. Like my first cardiac arrest was me. I had a woman we were transferring to the hospital. She was feeling a little short of breath. She just had knee surgery. We moved her from her bed in the rehab facility to the cot or to the stretcher, and she coded. She had an embolus. She threw an embolus right in front of me. Dude, I was out of medic school 6 months. Like I had never seen something like this in my life, man. And I had to work this code with an EMT who was calling the local fire service to try to get him to us as fast as possible. And I would say that is so much more common that you have an EMT and a medic on a box in a really busy city. So there's no one to bounce information off of. And we all know that the turnover rate is disgusting. So it's a brand new medic, most likely, who doesn't have enough knowledge. So it's a systematic thing. How do we fix it? My God, man, that is the question.
Yes. If we can do that,
For sure.
we'll make a lot of money. So, well, Jason, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us. It's a pleasure meeting you. I just know you through, your videos, and it's so nice to be able to talk to somebody. And, I feel like we know each other already. It's you said you work for AMR. That was my first job also.
Oh, really?
And pretty crazy, but thank you so much. And keep up the good work. And we're going to put links to Fire Department Coffee, your social media pages in our podcast. If you can share our podcast, that would be wonderful. We're just trying to get the word out, and we're trying to improve cardiac arrest survivability so we can give people one more day with their family.
Sounds great. I love it.
We have a goal. We have a goal, Jason, to, Billy told you, offline, but, we have, our moonshot, our 2030 moonshot. So by January 1st, 2030 is to find an agency, right? It could be fire, could be EMS, could be a state, could be a county, could be this country or other countries, because we do this, around the world, but to get an agency to 50.1% neurologically intact survival.
That'd be awesome.
And that's a big ask, right? I mean, that's a big ask, but we definitely appreciate, folks like you coming on and being a part of our journey. And we surely want you there with us when we get there at 50.1%. So
let's go. Appreciate it, guys.
That's right. All right, Jason. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Talk to you later. Bye.
This podcast and its postings are for general informational purposes only and do not constitute the practice of medicine, medical direction, medical oversight, or medical advice. No doctor-patient or doctor-healthcare provider relationship is formed. This podcast and advanced cardiac resuscitation are not a substitute for any local, state, or federal policies, protocols, or treatment guidelines. The views and opinions of the hosts and the guests of this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the view or policy of Advanced Cardiac Resuscitation, its officers, members, or member agencies. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Advanced Cardiac Resuscitation. Thank you for listening to ACR Moonshot, the Advanced Cardiac Resuscitation Podcast.